Hello everyone, and welcome. I'm in a familiar spot. This spot here is always busy all summer long. There's a few spots around here that are busy all summer long. I usually wait for the fall for them to clear out, and then I come and spend some time here. I mean, look at the beautiful view. Today is just a day trip. I recently bought that rocket stove. We know it'll boil water. Today I wanted to see if I could cook with it. So I'm going to set up. I'm going to boil some water and make some tea. And then I'm going to try and cook some lunch. See how that stove works out that way. I think we'll be okay as long as I let the fire die down a little bit. If I stock it with wood too aggressive, the flames really shoot out the top and I think it'll be too hot. But if I let it die down, we should be alright. So maybe next chance I get, I'm going to see if I can come and set up here again and spend a night here. It's a big enough area. My car is just there and I still have lots of room. Check this out. So here's the view of the river. And it's a big, wide open area. I get tons of choices on where I want to set the tent. The only drawback to a spot that's this close to the highway, that's this accessible and this busy, is usually when I show up I have to spend a bit of time cleaning up. At least this time they were nice enough to leave me a container that I could put the garbage in. And it looks like they broke the lid off their cooler. They kept it as a container, I guess, but they left the lid behind. So I'll be taking that away with me when I leave. Now let me get set up and we'll go and collect a little bit of twigs and branches. Then we'll make some lunch. Now when it comes to collecting birch bark, if there's a downed birch somewhere, I'll try and get my birch bark from that. If not, I will look for standing trees like this, where the bark is hanging, and I will grab a little bit of what's hanging, stick it in my pocket, but I try not to strip the whole tree. Here, there's a clump of trees, so I'll take a little bit from this one, then I'll come back here and take a little bit from this one. And then I'll look around and I'll see if I can scam some elsewhere. Taking what's hanging is not going to damage the tree. But at the same time, if I strip a tree completely, the next time I come back, there's nothing hanging. There's nothing for me to take. So if I take a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit over there, I get enough to light my fire and do what I need to do. But I leave some behind for the next time. Coming out here, it's always nice when you can use what you find to help you along with what you're doing. Well, I'm parked next to the car. My toolbox is in the car. Oh look, I have a table. I found the lid from that cooler. I've got it upside down on the ground beside me. All my gear is on here and it's staying dry. The ground is just a little bit damp. So by using this to keep my stuff dry, works out in my favor. Now, let me set up this rocket stove. Perfect. Now I've got that pocket full of birch bark. Stuff some of that down there. Stuff it from the top. With a bunch of fine twigs. Now we're going to stuff just a little bit more birch bark through here. Now there was a ton of smoke when I first lit it, but that's because we got a lot of rain just a couple of days ago and everything is still a bit damp. Even these twigs, I tried to get as dry as I could, but they're still a bit damp. So first things first, we're going to boil some water and get some tea going. I've got my little tea ball, and this is just a whole bunch of chaga powder. Now once my water's hot, I can just dangle that in the pot and steep my chaga tea. This is why you should never leave a fire unattended. Every time I stand up to get something, the chair falls backwards, the wind pushes it over. I got up to go get something, the wind pushed it forwards. And now there's a nice big burn hole in my chair. So while we're waiting for the water to boil, I brought out my little mini cast iron pan, a little 6-inch. And I brought some of you know this as Spam, some of you know this as Click. When I was growing up here in Canada, this was Click. But this is just a holiday luncheon meat. Same thing. My plan is, if I can get this open, I'm going to slice this up. Slice this up and then fry it. And then if that works well, I also brought a couple of eggs. There we go. We now have a rolling boil. So we're going to drop the T-ball in there. Now, I found at the back of the fire pit here, they had used a few pieces of brick. So I now have a nice flat area. I can move the tea, but keep it right beside the stove where it'll stay hot and let it steep. Now we can put our frying pan on. Put just a little bit of margarine in there. Coat that pan. So now the cooking is underway. Let's have a look at this tea. Nice. Oh, I love my chug of tea. Alright, let's put the cup down. Put the lid back on. Set that by the stove to stay warm. Okay, for some reason, this thing is taking forever today. I think it's because of all the rain we got on Thursday. It poured overnight, Wednesday night, and all day on Thursday. So everything is soaked out here. And I think that's what's going on, is my wood's a bit too damp. It's not burning like it should. I'm constantly having to stop and add air into the fire. I think it doesn't quite have enough holes in it. I don't think it's getting enough air, and I think the wood's just a bit too wet. We'll have to try it again at some other point when I hit a couple of good dry days and my wood is dry. They're cooking, but it's taking forever because the pan's just not getting the heat that it should. It seems to be burning a little better now, but it took a long time to get a decent bed of coals to have it burning properly. So the last batch of the Spam is just about done. I'm going to pull that out in a second. And in here, I brought 2 eggs. Get out of there, Mr. Shell. And that's what it's been like this entire time. Put in a bit of wood, give it some oxygen. Give it some oxygen. When the fire starts to die down, put in a bit of wood, give it some oxygen. But like I said, the wood is very wet. So I'm hoping that that's the problem. I'll have to try it again with some drier wood and see what happens. Well, the eggs are finally cooked. Well, at least the eggs are delicious. As far as the Spam, well, it's not bad. It's not, oh my gosh, delicious. But for being out in the woods like this, it'll fill your belly. Mixed with the egg, it's actually pretty good. So now that the stove is cool, the only air it's getting is from these two little holes at the back, and then whatever comes in from the front. I think it might not be enough. First time I used it, the wood was very dry and it worked well. But when the wood is wet, I don't think it's getting enough oxygen to burn that wet wood, to dry it out and burn it. Like I said, at some point, when I can, I'll try it again with some dry wood and see how it works. But at least we got to spend an afternoon out here. And we learnt that this thing doesn't work well with wet wood. But that lunch took way longer than it should have. Way longer. I got here just before noon, and it's almost 3. Setting up and gathering the wood and getting ready, we'll say took about a half hour. So it took me 2.5 hours to cook and eat the food. That's a little bit much. Especially for just a easy lunch like that. Now, if this thing was working as it should, I don't think it would have come anywhere near taking that long. With any of my other stoves, it would have never taken that long. Not even close. But the lesson is learned. The only way to know is to actually try it and see how it goes. But now we know, if the wood is wet, don't touch that stove. Now I'm going to sit back and enjoy the last of this tea. And then I got to pack up and head for home because it's almost time for supper. Oh well, lessons learned. Lessons learned. I want to thank you all for coming along. Always a pleasure having you with me. And if you liked what you saw, go ahead and hit the like button. If you want to see more of it, hit the subscribe button. And if you're going to do that, you may as well hit the notification bell. When you do, there'll be a drop-down menu. In that menu, select all, and that should let you know whenever we put out a new video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.